How many times in the last week have you been out living your life and thought to yourself, I need to remember that, and then absolutely did not remember that later? Or gotten to the end of a really long day and realized that you completely forgot that one important thing that you were supposed to do that day? Well, if you're anything like the majority of the women that I work with, this is happening to you constantly. And the response most of us have is to think, I need to do better. I need to try harder. I need to have a better memory. But that's not actually the problem. Your memory is not the problem. Your system is the problem. Or more specifically, I should say, the fact that you probably don't have one.
Welcome to the Balance It Method podcast. If you're a working mom juggling a career, kids, housework, a social life, and endless piles of laundry, then you are in the right place, my friend. I'm Tamara, a mom, business owner, and your balanced living bestie. Each week, we will discuss simple, practical ways to better manage your time and energy so you can get things checked off that to-do list without burning yourself out in the process. If you're ready to take off that busy badge of honor and finally take control over life's chaos, then let's take this journey together as we learn how to balance it.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Balance It Method podcast. I'm your host, Tamara, and if you're new around here, welcome, my friends. This is where us working moms are coming together to talk about all the things that we struggle to get done on those to-do lists every day, and we figure out ways that we can do them in a more systematic way so that we can check them off, we can save some brain space, we can save some time to sit down and relax, and we don't have to feel chaotic and stressed out all the time. So lately I have had what feels like a mush brain. Now this could be for a number of reasons. One, I'm getting to that age where my memory is starting to fail me. My cognitive sharpness is not what it used to be. And I have a little bit of brain fog and all that going on. So I'm working on that. But also, I forgot that I had a system that helped me, that supported my memory. And so I thought, let's talk about that again today. Let's talk about refreshing this system to get back into it. And if you're new around here and you haven't heard me talk about this before, then maybe this is something that could work to help you stop forgetting things also. So before I get into all the details of the system, let's talk about what's actually happening here, because when you're operating like most busy moms do, your brain is not actually designed to store infinite lists of things, of reminders, of appointments, of errands, of ideas, of follow-ups that you need to make. That's not your brain's actual job. Your brain is designed to come up with creative solutions, to think, to problem solve, to create, to connect, to be present. But most of us don't even have the cognitive space to be able to do that because our brains are overloaded. It's like when your storage on your phone fills up, which that just happened to me this week too. So it's why I came up with this idea, and it reminded me, oh yeah, I actually have a solution for this and I completely forgot about it. So let's just put the idea aside that there's something wrong with you or that you're not just really forgetful all the time. It's that your brain is running under a conditioning that it was never built for. The research actually shows that there's a concept called cognitive load, which you've maybe heard of, like the mental load, right? Which is basically the amount of mental effort your working memory is using at any given time. So when your cognitive load is at max capacity, which as a working mom, basically it always is, your ability to retain new information tanks. We've probably all experienced this with our phones, right? Our phones have run out of storage. And so you go to take a picture of something and your phone is like, oops, nope, you can't take any more pictures. Your phone is full. That happens to your brain too. So there is another part to this that is always funny because it's something that I've been doing recently because I forgot that I had a system for this. And so usually when this starts to happen, when we start to be forgetful, what we try is we try to remember harder, which is like absolutely absurd. It's not going to work. We try to repeat things over and over again in our heads. We leave things out like as physical reminders, probably post-its laying around, right? Which is why there's probably a permission slip on your countertop right now that's been there for 4 days. Maybe we write things down in a notebook or in a journal, or we add things to our phone's notes app, or we have things in 18 different places and then we can't find any of that information when we need to recall what we had written down. And none of that is a reliable system. None of that is going to work, and it's not sustainable. It's just a random attempt to catch things as they fall, but it's not working. You're actually playing like whack-a-mole with your to-do list. So after this fundraiser that I put on in April, I feel like my brain has been mush, and I have been forgetting so much, and I have had constant brain fog, and just like there's been a lot just that I've noticed that's slipping through the cracks. And when my phone was full of storage and I needed to like upgrade my phone or like delete some things, I was like, it kind of reminded my brain like, oh yeah, I built a system to help me to not forget things, and I haven't been using it. So let's get back into what I call my task capture system. So I think what really happened was the system that I built got too complicated, and so I stopped using it. So we're going to go back to the basics here with the way that we are going to capture tasks and see if I can sort of reset this system. So I'm going to give you the details of all of it, and you can decide what will work best for you. So this task capture system has two components. There's a physical capture point and a daily processing habit. So the physical capture point is a single notebook. It doesn't have to be a fancy notebook. It doesn't have to be anything too elaborate, just a space that you can write in, that you take with you everywhere you go. Now, I had adapted this over the years to capture tasks in my cell phone, like putting it in a certain, I like to use the Google Keep app. So I was trying to capture tasks inside of that app in a list format so that I could go back and look at it. The problem I think there is that I started to get too many lists going on. Now I do still have my list building system. I think it is still relevant and works well, but the way that I put those things on the list, I'm going back to the basics and I'm going to start writing them down again. The reason I'm going to start doing this is because of the science behind physically writing something down. You are more likely to remember the thing that you're trying to remember if you physically write it down. So if I am out and somebody says, you should read this book, and I want to remember that book, I am going to write that down in my task capture book. If I am out at the grocery store and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I need to go to that other store another day to pick that other item up that we need for the household, I'm going to write that down in my task capture notebook. The only time I'm going to be putting anything into my phone is if I am booking an appointment. So if I'm at the doctor's office and I need to book a follow-up appointment, I am going to open the calendar and I'm going to put it in there. If we are at somebody's house and they say, hey, do you want to go out for dinner on such and such night? And I can open my calendar and put it in there then. Those are things that are more urgent. They have a set date, a set time. Those are things I'm going to process that information on the go, in that spot, and put it directly into the calendar. But everything else, everything that is a non-super urgent thing, or that doesn't have a set time or schedule around it, I'm going to put into my notebook. And even if it's something like an event that I maybe want to go to, I am going to still write that into my notebook, because then I can go back to my physical planner and look at it if it's something far in the future and make that decision as to whether I want to say yes to that or not. It's not that urgent. If it's not urgent, it's going in my notebook. If it is urgent and has a timestamp to it, it goes directly into my calendar. Now, the other part to this process is the daily processing habit. So going to the page that you wrote that stuff on that day and sitting down with your planner and processing that information or wherever it needs to go. It doesn't necessarily always end up in your planner, but this is where I can take that information off of my task capture notebook and put it on either in my list building system or into my planner or wherever it belongs. So let's go back to that book that I want to remember that somebody recommended to me. I wrote that down in my task capture notebook. I open up my notebook. I look at that list of things that I wrote down. I see, oh, I wanted to read that book. Now I go into my Google Keeps app, into my list that is books I want to read, and I will put the name of that book on that list. Now, when I am at the bookstore and I'm like, what were those books that I wanted to read? I can open up that list and there they are. If you want to learn more about building a list building system, I'll link up the episode that I did about that below. It kind of gives you an overview of the way that I was doing my task capture system at the time when I recorded that episode. But just know that I have gone back to the basics. I'm putting it in a notebook over here because I want to stop forgetting things. Now, daily processing of your notebook might seem a bit aggressive, so you do you. If daily processing is too much, maybe just look at it every couple of days or at least once a week just to process that information. I would suggest with your notebook using a new page every day and maybe get a notebook with like a bookmarker in it so that you can kind of see which pages you need to process still. So what I like to do is I group all of the previously processed pages. So let's say last week's information, I'll group all of that together and I'll put a paper clip on top so that holds those papers all together. For the new stuff, I put the bookmark at the end of the pages that I haven't processed yet. So when I sit down to process that information, I can look at it. I know exactly what pages to look at and I'm not having to flip through. So here's how I want you to implement this week if this system makes sense to you. Pick one capture point, whether it's a notebook. You can use your notes app on your phone if that is what you choose to do. It could even be just like a whiteboard in your house. What I don't want you to do is to have a bunch of post-it notes sticking around all the time because those post-it notes don't stick very well and they fall down in your car and then they get lost and then you're like, where did I put that post-it note with the thing that I needed to remember on it? I want you to write things down in one place. Whatever you choose, I don't care. Just choose it and commit to it. And for the next 7 days, just every time you have a thought that comes into your mind that you need to remember or something you don't want to forget, a task, an idea, whatever it is, write it in there. Don't rely on your brain to remember it. Okay, I'm saying this to myself too. I'm going to listen to this again later. We are working on this together, my friends. So we're not saying to ourselves anymore, oh, I'll remember that. I'll remember that later. We are capturing it immediately in the moment. And at the end of each day, I want you to take 5 minutes. Maybe it's right after the kids go to bed. Maybe you sit down with that notebook and you just process that information. And if once a day just feels like not doable for you, then just add it as a step to your Sunday reset system where you sit down with that notebook and you process whatever pages you have to. My only issue with that is that sometimes we write down things that we actually do need to do sooner rather than later, right? And so I would have a little backup system for that. If you are writing something down that you need to pick up a birthday present for next Monday evening, then you're just processing that information during your Sunday reset, then you're like, okay, I didn't remember that I needed to do that all week long, and now I have to urgently do it. So I like to avoid all of that, and I like to just be as organized as possible so that I'm not having to rush around all the time. So you do you, whatever makes sense to you, but personally, I like the daily processing. So I'll leave you with this, my friends. Your brain is not broken. Our brains are not broken. They are not mashed potatoes. You are not as scattered and disorganized as you think that you are. You are just a woman carrying an enormous amount of information, and you've been trying to carry it without any tools to support you. So give yourself a real system and watch what happens. If you want to go deeper on this, on building systems that actually work for your real life and not just some idealized version of it, my free Overwhelmed to Organized guide is the perfect place for you to start, because it will help you get out of survival mode and start helping you have the capacity to build something that is sustainable. So the link for that will be in the show notes below as well. And I will see you over there, or I will see you back here next week. Bye, guys.